Welcome once again to our series of brief video tutorials on finding, writing, and citing. In this series, we demonstrate tools and techniques for searching for information in the online library. In the previous videos, we gave you a brief history of how modern research tools evolved and also demonstrated tools to find a known item when you have a citation in hand. In this video, we will focus rather on how to do a topical research using the full-text databases of the modern library. You should recall that once books and journals went online, the library search capabilities expanded from the traditional catalog information or metadata to being able to search the entire text. This meant an explosion of retrieval results, which made it difficult to search for known items, but also to limit your topical searching to a meaningful set of results. But there are techniques that can be used to help you narrow and expand your search as you navigate the millions upon millions of words being searched. We will do this by taking a real example from research done previously by a dissertation student. The resource we searched to get her results was a very large full-text database made of hundreds of thousands of e-journal articles. Because we don't want our viewers to focus on the particular database, however, I have taken the liberty of making a rather generic-looking interface, but the terms used and results achieved accurately reflect the searches conducted. The student wanted what appeared to be simple enough to find articles discussing a vessel's length in relation to its carrying capacity. The first hit looks like it has good potential, but look at the next three. Number 2 and 3 refer to the carrying capacity of blood vessels in some context or other. The fourth one must have the words we search for somewhere in the text, but it isn't obvious from the results. But we can see it has no relevance to our topic. And now look how many you have to go through. 2,753. Just out of curiosity, we clicked open to scan the full text of the fourth item, which comes from a legal journal. Length is mentioned on page 67. Relation to is mentioned on page 75, and a footnote on page 110 uses the word vessel, but only as a metaphor. If we look deeper into the second item in our results, we can see our search terms pop up across numerous pages in the text, but in no context relevant to what we are searching. With only 1 in 4 being of possible use and 2,700 more to go, we need to figure out how to limit our results. We can do this with two techniques, phrase searching and the Boolean AND. With phrase searching, we mark our search terms in such a way that we can instruct the system to search for 2 or more words in exact sequence, rather than being located anywhere in the document. The most commonly used method to denote a phrase search is to place the phrase within quotation marks. As for the other limiting technique, you might recall from logic class the Boolean operators and or not, used as a way to logically join or separate ideas, things, or concepts. By joining two terms with AND, we are instructing the system to ensure the retrieval of only those items that match both criteria. In this example, tankers and Liberian will give you a smaller subset of the total number of tankers in the world, as well as a smaller number of the total vessels under the Liberian flag. So knowing these limiting techniques, let's use them in our search strategy to reduce our original results from nearly 300,000 documents to 3,000 documents to something more reasonable. We'll restrict what we're looking for to documents having vessels next to the word length, and also having the word capacity immediately following the word carrying. That narrowed our results to 17, but unfortunately, as you can see from the first few items, we did not get a higher percentage of relevance. Maybe the second document has something of interest, but clearly, we need to expand from this limited set in an attempt to find more documents on our topic. So let's look at two important techniques we can use for expanding results: truncation or wildcards, and the Boolean OR. With truncation, the database accepts a character after the start of the word that represents any possible end of the word. Many databases use the asterisk character for this purpose. In this example, we're using the wildcard character to expand our search to include variants of the words for seafaring and seafarers. Many databases have a character, such as the question mark that can be used as a substitute for a single character, such as in where we could find documents for the word bullion or billion simply by replacing the first vowel with a question mark. So let's keep our phrase searches linked with the Boolean and, but let's expand a search a little bit by truncating each of them. This means we will retrieve any document having the word vessel, vessels, plural, or vessels possessive, next to the word length, lengths, or lengthens, and carries, carriage, carrying, carried, and so forth next to the word capacity or capacities. This should extend our results, but keeping our Boolean and our phrase delimiters, it should not expand them by much. 37 is a more reasonable number to sift through, but unfortunately we found that we still had a high proportion of documents not relevant to our search. We still need to expand for comprehensiveness and at the same time narrow for more relevance. Fortunately, we have more tools at our disposal. Introducing the Boolean or. When two terms are logically joined with this operator, it includes all documents having one term and all documents containing the other, including those documents containing both. In this case, any item that contains LNG or oil will be included in your search results. A good use of the or is to include synonyms or closely related words to your original search term. For instance, a document might mention whole length instead of vessel length. One has to be careful as to how the or is placed, however. If we just ored the word whole without any context, it would add every document that mentioned the word whole, regardless of whether they had any relevance to a vessel's carrying capacity. This is where grouping can make a difference. We can or like terms together in a group using parentheses. Some databases have operators let you determine proximity, how far apart words in the text are located from each other. Under the help section of this particular database, we learned the keyword for this operator is near, followed by a slash and a number for how close the words have to be. What we are searching for now are documents containing vessel length or whole length or length of the vessel or length of the whole. Quite often, when searching through large sets of data, such as those containing full-text ebooks and e-journals, getting the right set of results is a matter of adjusting parameters, overshooting and undershooting until you hit your mark. During this period of trial and error, you would, of course, sample the documents retrieved. As you scan some of the more relevant documents, you might pick up terminology that is common to the study or profession, terminology that can be very helpful in helping you further hone your research. In this particular search, we learned that the term length overall, sometimes abbreviated as LOA, is a common term in marine engineering and naval architecture for exactly the concept we're looking for. As you can see, we've added length overall, or LOA, to our original criteria. Even without using wildcards or truncation, we've managed to get over 20,000 documents, but keep in mind that at this point we're only searching for one of our two concepts. We still need to combine it with the concept of carrying capacity. We're happy with our strategy for finding vessel length, but we need to make sure we retain the integrity of this component when combining it with our search for carrying capacity. Remember, we have two Boolean OR operators, which work fine in this context, but could make a mess when we add anything further. The solution is to extend the grouping feature with what is known as nesting, which is basically grouping within groups. So here we have maintained our grouping for vessel or whole within a larger grouping. Vessel or whole is said to be nested within the larger grouping of all the terms we are using to find the length of a vessel. So we have maintained the integrity of our strategy for that concept and then combined that using the Boolean and with another grouping for the concept of carrying capacity. Note, we have carrying capacity as a phrase delimited with quotation marks, and we are truncating a word so that we can get capacity or capacities following the word carrying. In the course of reviewing our relevant documents, we also learned that tonnage was a term often used for this concept. So what this search will yield are all documents containing vessel length or whole length or length overall or LOA and must contain carrying capacity or carrying capacities or tonnage. We got 573 results. When retrieving those results, we noted that we were retrieving documents having to do with medicine and law, but that still matched our search criteria. While satisfied with the comprehensiveness of our search strategy, there is still another tool we can use to help improve our precision or relevance, and that is the remaining Boolean operator not. Not either limits results or keeps them the same. For example, if I have a database that only pertains to transport by sea, then ships, not airplanes, would give me the same results as just ship. But in that same database, if I searched for ships, not containers, or containers, not ULCV, the results would likely be lower. So, to return to our search, we are fairly satisfied that we have a good set of documents discussing vessel length in relation to their carrying capacity, but we would like to eliminate the documents pertaining to medicine and law that keep coming in our results. To that end, we add another grouping in which we have truncated and OR'd the words or variations of those words that we do not want to appear in the document. Note that we have nested our entire original search within its own group before stipulating not documents having to do with law or medicine, and we managed to cut our results in half. To review, we can expand our results using truncation, wildcards, and the Boolean operator OR. We can limit them by delimiting exact phrases or specifying the proximity of terms to each other within the text. Also, by employing the Boolean and in certain contexts, we can limit with the Boolean not. We manage the structural integrity of our search by grouping terms together and nesting if that is needed. Don't worry if you don't remember all these symbols. They can actually differ between databases. If you remember the concepts, you can look up the specific symbols and syntax in the database help section. In fact, in today's web-based interfaces, there's usually an advanced search that will provide a mostly graphical interface to do the same things more intuitively. Knowing these tactics can help you wade through millions of words to retrieve the best set of relevant documents. But even with the expertise in these tools, there are still limits as to what can be accomplished with full-text searching alone. A relevant document could be missed if it does not contain the search terms used. For example, we have an article which mentions ocean pollution, pollution of the sea, oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. It even makes a reference to Marpol. Nowhere does it contain the phrase marine pollution, which is what the user searched for. So in spite of that being the most likely term to search under, this document simply would not get retrieved. Or what about when the term being searched has more than one meaning or context? A perfect example being when you search a general database for piracy. The maritime researcher is looking for information about acts of kidnapping and robbery at sea, but more than likely is going to have to wade through a high percentage of documents having to do with copyright violation. To overcome these limitations, we can use metadata. Metadata is data about data, but it really can be traced back to the card catalog when full-text searching was not available, and the only thing to search by was the information provided in the index of library materials sorted by author, title, and subjects maintained in the library catalog. When searching metadata, you are searching against data fields that describe the document, discrete blocks of text outside the document itself. By limiting your search to one of these fields, you can achieve better relevance in your results. For instance, you might want to exclude a document written about the author Martin Stopford and limit your results to just those works that were authored by Martin Stopford. Or perhaps you might be searching for material published in the year 2010. If you are searching only against the text of the document, you will retrieve any work that has the sequence of digits 2010, regardless of the context or the year the work was published. To get more relevance results, you could search the metadata field for publication year. Another advantage of metadata is that it strives for uniformity in its use of terms. This is known as controlled vocabulary. And whereas the text of a document might use many variations of a word or term, as well as synonyms, controlled vocabulary uses terms in an official thesaurus, under which all synonyms and variations are officially cataloged under one term, and any possible variations are linked to the official term via C references. For example, in the Library Congress's list of subject headings, Many works about seafarers are assigned the official subject heading of merchant mariners, whether or not the document uses the term merchant marine or merchant mariners. Likewise, if you were looking for the subject term for works about ports in the Library of Congress's list of subject headings, you would be instructed to use the term harbors. Whether or not the document ever used the word harbors, you would still pull up the relevant works because all works on ports are encompassed under the heading for harbors. Again, with controlled vocabulary, there's one term accepted to describe a concept. The corollary is also true, that there can only be one concept per term. Thus, the topic we would likely be researching would be found under the subject heading for piracy. The subject piracy parentheses copyright would be used to distinguish works about copyright violation. Keep in mind that expansion and limitation techniques also work with metadata and in combination with full-text searching. As we mentioned a moment ago, today's web-based interfaces usually have an advanced search page that can guide you through how to use and combine the various search techniques we have demonstrated in this video. If you have watched all the previous videos in order, you will have been introduced to the various document types that you will have to reference in your work. You have seen the several ways you can import or add citations to your reference manager database. We've demonstrated ways to take notes in your research and keep them organized, and we have shown you how to navigate the online environment, both for finding known items and for topical searching. The most important part of your dissertation is your own analysis, stating your arguments in your own words, and providing evidence for your conclusion. We hope that with what you have learned in these videos, you can spend a greater portion of your time on these activities and less on the very necessary but sometimes tedious tasks of scholarship. This concludes our series on finding information and getting it organized, Phase 1 of the dissertation process. Phase 2 is the composition itself, which involves writing, making in-text references as you go, and occasionally seeking additional verification or double-checking your facts. We will offer more videos to accompany this phase in the coming weeks. Meanwhile, we hope this video so far has been insightful. Thank you for taking the time to watch.